Yeah, I had to get that one out before I started the show. All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. What's going on, y'all? Good to see everybody. We are live on Rockfin. What's up, Rockfin people? We're live on YouTube. What's up, YouTube people? We're live on Callin. What's up, Callin people? Let's see. Start with I got a tip after the fact. After the show yesterday from Steph C. Thank you for the tip. She says, thanks, Kevin. Bye all. Thanks, Steph. I appreciate that. Thank you, Poppy. I appreciate that too. All right. Let's get it going. It's crazy. I saw this in The Intercept. Remember the woolly mammoth story that we talked about a few months ago, maybe? They were saying they were going to fight climate change by reanimating woolly mammoths, right? Or, taking their genes and basically splicing woolly mammoths and elephants and making a new woolly mammoth that was somehow going to fight climate change. Well, there's a new wrinkle to this, which is, just as bizarre, but also, kind of really indicates that the powers that be know that climate change is real, right? This is not a made up thing. The CIA is investing in this project. And you might say, oh, well, the CIA, they do a whole bunch of things. But why would they do this? Would they do this just to for giggles? Would they do that for giggles? No, I think they see it as a thing that they might need to do. Again, I'll say it at the risk of sounding like a broken record. The conspiracy is not that climate change is a hoax. The conspiracy is that it's way worse than anyone understands, although the powers that be all understand this, and they're just not letting you know. But in the meantime, in the background, they're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they are starting to roll out some things as if they care about it, right? They left it way too late. They left it way too long. We didn't do anything about it 30 or 40 years ago when we should have. What we allowed was the fossil fuel companies and the right-wing think tanks to roll out a whole bunch of climate, as change is a hoax, climate skepticism. It's not a real thing, blah, blah, blah. Because they wanted to continue with the party called global capitalism. They didn't want anything impeding that. And that's why they did that. And now here we are, and now we're screwed. And now they're like, well, wow, we have all this technology now. It's 2022. Now maybe we can save the planet by rolling out these de-extinction is what they're calling it. Anyways, there's funders and investors in this project. Peter Thiel, Tony Robbins, Paris Hilton, Winklevoss, the Winklevi, and the CIA. Wow. I don't understand how this is going to work, though. I really don't. They want to de-extinct the woolly mammoth and other species. Strategically, says In-Q-Tel, it's less about the mammoths and more about the capability. Wow. Biotechnology and the broader bioeconomy are critical for humanity to further develop or survive climate change. I don't know. it is important for all facets of our government to develop them and have an understanding of what is possible. I don't know. All of this is fairly frightening. Colossal uses CRISPR gene editing, a method of genetic engineering based on a naturally occurring type of DNA sequence. CRISPR sequences present on their own in some bacterial cells and act as an immune defense system. Anyways. The embrace of this technology will help allow the U.S. government agencies to read, write, and edit genetic material. Oh. And importantly, to steer global biological phenomena that impact nation-to-nation competition. This is madness, while enabling the United States to help set the ethical as well as technological standards. Oh my God. Really? We're going to leave it up to the U.S. to set the ethical standards? Are you sure? Are you sure? Really? Are you 3 years old? Are you a 3? Really? The U.S. is going to make sure it's ethical because I am a child in my brain. Good God. I still believe in Santa Claus. Unbelievable. Or in the words of Ricky Ricardo, don't you believe it? That's the last entity you want controlling the ethical standards of anything is the U.S. We don't care. You should know that by now. Corrupt to the core. So it's not really about climate change, is it? It's about something else. It's about biotechnology. But the CIA is involved, so that is that's interesting. How is this even going to? Anyways, a lot of people are very skeptical about this, right? As you should be skeptical. You can do what you want with your brain. I'm just suggesting that you should possibly be skeptical about this. De-extinction is a fairy tale science, says Jeremy Austin from Australia. Anyways, interesting. I'm just kind of going through the highlights or the lowlights. If you're going to de-extinct the woolly mammoth, they have to have a place to live, right? And roam. There has to be like wilderness, which is quickly going away. We're quickly losing all the wilderness. And humans don't like wilderness, right? We chop it down. We roll it on back. We destroy it. We do everything we can to get rid of wilderness. We don't, we're against it. But again, you think the woolly mammoths, releasing some woolly mammoths in the wild is going to turn it around? I don't know. Maybe. But I really, really don't think so. Anyways. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Phantomus, he says short answer is yes. Could economic headwinds blow climate change commitments off course? Of course they will. They're already doing it, right? It just takes like 3 months of, an economic turnaround or some recession, and or high gas prices. Oh my God, we got to get rid of these climate change commitments. This is getting in the way of living. Yeah, I mean, we're just rolling it on. There was no climate change commitments to begin with, but with small, feeble, newborn deer on spindly legs climate commitments that are out there, dinosaur just stepped on them. Stepped on your little spindly legged deer. Yeah. Anyways, but that, I don't know. Am I going to even look at this? Yeah. So recession, energy shortage, anything, climate, catastrophe, weather, war, any, pick a reason, any reason. Oh no, we can't possibly do it now. Vaughn Lindsay, the CEO of carbon finance organization Climate Impact Partners, said it will be interesting to see whether some companies begin to back off their climate commitments because of the current economic headwinds. Economic headwinds. Anyways, we'll see. The fact that we're relying on companies and corporations to actually be the standard bearers of climate action should indicate how messed up we are, right? How far from anything of any consequence being done. Because the first thing, if anybody was going to do something about climate change, the first thing they would do would be to nationalize these corporations or put them out of business or pay them to go away or whatever. Confiscate their, whatever. Just, it would be like, you're out of here. But instead, we're like, hey, corporations, the companies that are killing the planet, can you guys help us do something about climate change? Sure, we'll do something about climate change. We'll put a tree on our logo. How about that? Looks good. I mean, it's just, we are having the absolute wrong conversation, obviously. Why are we even talking about these companies or corporations? They shouldn't even be. We should be talking about how they're going to go away soon. That's if any politician worth anything really cared about climate change would be talking about how quickly we can make these companies go away. Global corporations shouldn't even exist in the face of climate change. They shouldn't even exist. And somehow they're going to lead the fight. This is absolutely monumentally dumb. Anyways. Oh, I don't even know if I want to cover this, but Fantoma sent me. It was just climate, Daily Skeptic, some climate bullshit. But it's like climate denial. These climate denialists are just climate bombshell. Whoa. And then people are like tweeting this out on Twitter. Whoa. Yeah, this, you guys don't even know what you're talking about. You look like fools. You don't know anything about anything, but you're like, oh yeah, gotcha. I don't know. This isn't even news. This is just one site. This is not a news site. This is a climate denialism site meant to put out fake news about climate denialism. It's not, it's one site, and that some dude put up. It's not a news site per se. It's like it's their version. It's their opinion site. Anyways, and they're talking about how Arctic summer sea ice has been spectacular. Okay, let's go. And according to this website, which they linked. So, yeah, the sea ice is above the 2012 minimum, the absolute minimum that we ever had. But we're way below. That's the thing is they write articles hoping that people don't look at the actual links, and they don't. Apparently they don't. Because if you looked at the link, you'd go like, well, yeah, it's above 2012, but it's like way below where we're supposed to be. Right? We're the median from the last 30 years, we're like way below where we're supposed to be. So there's nothing spectacular about that. It just means that we haven't hit the all-time absolute low yet. And it's been 10 years since that happened. And then they want to talk about why. Right, there's lots of, there's scientific reasons why that, hasn't happened. And we're getting a reprieve. We are lucky that we're getting a reprieve. There's no like, here comes the Arctic summer ice. It's coming back for, just in time for the new ice age and the woolly mammoths. And then they talk about Japanese climatologists. They're saying that El Nino is playing a role in why the summer melt has slowed. Okay, but I mean, that's the point. The standpoint from which this article is written, the denialist article, is like, you guys are like, I don't know if the point you're proving. It's obvious that the people that are interested in this information aren't all that, they don't know anything about climate science, and they don't care, and all they want is their biases confirmed. So it doesn't really matter. But what they're trying to say is a natural phenomenon has slowed the ice. And if you actually go to the link, which is the study, they start off right away saying natural variability and anthropogenic forcing contribute to the recent Greenland warming. So they're saying climate change is contributing to the Greenland melting, and the only reason it's slowed down a bit, and someone in the comments correctly said, because of freshwater runoff is keeping some of the summer melt, keep slowing it down, right? There's several reasons, actually. Jennifer Francis has a good video out from a few years ago saying that there's global warming, there's a negative feedback, or negative feedback that is keeping the summer melt from going all the way to zero. And it's just a matter of time. Anyways, this study starts right off saying there's natural variability and there's anthropogenic forcing. So they're saying climate change is melting Greenland. It's only being slowed down because of El Nino oscillations. They're saying. But they start right off in the study saying like, anthropogenic forcing is causing Greenland melt. But in this article, they're like, yeah, gotcha. It's just natural variability. Dude, did you even, you're counting on people not to read your links. So good sciencing there, sciencing guys. Anyways, whatever. You're not, if you're like, yeah, running down the street with the climate skeptic article. Yeah, got him. You're just not, sorry. You just don't know what you're talking about because you didn't even actually follow the links in the article. So good job. Good job, science people. Anyways, it's not a bombshell. It's not new news. It's not anything. It's not anything based in anything. It's not anything based in science. It's just words on a page that people can glom onto in order to prove a point. It's not even proven in their own article. They can't even prove their point. The studies, the things they link to don't even actually uphold the things that they're trying to say. And it would take about 3 seconds of somebody with 2 brain cells to go, oh, what are you even saying there? Anyways, the heat wave in China still amazingly going on. 40.9 C at Qingyang. Again, another monthly heat record broken. 12 provinces and 470 stations pulverized their records, in some cases even by 4 to 5 C, even above their September record's mind-blowing heat wave. A massive heat wave is hitting China, has been hitting China for the last month, and no mainstream media outlets and almost no alternative journalist, outlets are covering this. And you should be covering this. Yeah, being a journalist, you should actually cover things that happen in the world. I am a journalist. I cover things that happen in the world that are actually happening, and I try to, whenever I cover something, I try to back it up with data and evidence. And if I'm just stating an opinion, I say I'm just stating an opinion not based on a whole lot of science. And that is actually my job as a journalist. Anyways, massive flooding as well happening. In Khe Sanh in Laos. More floods. More heat waves and floods, heat waves and drought, and floods and drought and heat waves. Dr. Evil is busy. He is busy. Let's see. From Elliot Jacobson. He says, your moment of doom for October 3rd. There may be a sort of species-specific speed limit on how fast human societies can respond, even to very big threats, if they are slow-moving, impersonal, and invisible. We may be doomed to respond too slowly to climate change. Probably. It's looking like that's, all things considered, that's kind of looking like how it's going. Let me see. Should I read this whole thing? Maybe I will. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break and I'll read this because it doesn't look like it's too long. We'll quickly go check out the coffees. If anybody bought me a coffee. No. I'll check out the Rockfin tips. Nay. There are many ways to tip or leave a comment if you want me to give a message to the people. All right, we'll proceed. I'll read this and then we'll take a break in a couple of minutes. I'm writing this on a plane to Greenland. Well, actually on a plane to Denmark because there's no way to get to Greenland by a civilian airline without going through Copenhagen first, and it has occurred to me, not for the first time, to wonder where everybody is. My wife and I are on our way to shoot a documentary film about a handful of scientists who have an idea to slow the speed at which glaciers are sliding into the sea. If it works, it would drastically lower the predicted level of sea level rise. Level of sea level rise. That was a weird sentence. As the warming proceeds and the world's remaining ice melts, sea level rise is going to become a grave problem for every country with a coastline. So you'd think there would be legions of people working on it. There are not. How many people are working specifically on accelerating glacial flows? Maybe 100 full-time scientists if you're feeling optimistic. What holds glaciers back is the friction between the ice and the bottom. Warmer ocean currents are eating away at the base of the glaciers and effectively detaching them from the bottom, i.e. taking the brakes off. The official Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change forecasts no more than 1 meter of sea level rise by 2100. Many scientists think a 2-meter rise is more likely given predictable further warming even with rapid cuts to emissions. And if the entire quite unstable West Antarctic ice sheet starts to slide into the sea, 4 meters by 2100. A 2-meter sea level rise would flood land that is home to 250 million people. In Asia, say goodbye to Shanghai, Bangkok, and Calcutta. In the U.S., farewell to Miami and New Orleans. At 4 meters, at least 1 billion people would be looking for new homes, and they wouldn't be in the mood to take no for an answer. So this plane and lots of others heading to the polar regions should be full of climate scientists looking for ways to slow down the glaciers and the consequent sea level rise. We're already locked into far too much warming, and just cutting emissions is not enough. But there are just 5 scientists and engineers on this trip, an American, 2 Canadians, a Brit who's normally based at a Chinese university, and a Finn. Do you guys even know that this is going on? I mean, golly, with all the, all the big money grab that climate change is, you'd think that people would be funding these guys to the hilt. They have a really promising idea for slowing down the glaciers and reducing the speed of sea level rise, but there should be 10, 30, or 50 teams working on promising ideas. Consider for a moment the Manhattan Project, which employed 130,000 people in 1942 to 1945 to build the first atomic bombs. It cost about $23 billion in today's money. But nobody objected because they were afraid that the Germans might get the bomb first. In fact, the Germans weren't even trying. Global warming is at least as big as the threat as a few nuclear weapons, as a few first-generation nuclear weapons in Nazi hands. Far bigger, I'd say. So why is the response so muted? Can't people see that climate change is an existential threat that would justify dozens of Manhattan-scale crash projects to curb the warming? No, they can't, and I suspect our ancestors are to blame. All our ancestors were hunter-gatherers for at least 98% of human history, and hunter-gatherers lived in the short term. They could react very fast to immediate and visible threats, but they could do nothing about longer-term challenges, like changes in the climate or in animal migration routes, so they didn't waste time worrying about them. We are their descendants, and that's our default mode, too. What I'm suggesting, I'm afraid, is that there may be a sort of a species-specific speed limit on how fast human societies can respond even to very big threats if they are slow-moving, impersonal, and invisible. The Manhattan Project people were in the middle of a war against human enemies. We are not. If there is such a speed limit, does that mean we are doomed? Who knows? How fast is fast enough? But the graduate schools are now full of people studying climate science, and despair is not a useful option. All right, that's it. That was very short, to the point. Who knows? Let's keep going. Another heat wave going on in South Africa in their spring. Nope. That's not what I was looking for. Weird. Hold on. That is weird. Okay. Well, maybe that's not there anymore. All right. Well, we'll move on. Anyways, it was a post from extreme temperatures around the world about heat wave in South Africa. Here's another flood in Oman. Oh, man. Rescue people who got stuck during the flood on the highway in Oman. It's pretty crazy footage. Again, floods. I wonder what's going on. I have no idea. All right. It's almost time to say goodbye to the YouTubers. We'll go with this. We'll leave y'all, the YouTubers, with this. Peter Dine says, thinking that buying an EV is doing my bit for the climate is delusional. It's falling for the green growth marketing trick. It's a misunderstanding of where we're at and what has to be done to have any chance of mitigation. Green growth with a techno fix is fantasy. Anyways, I actually retweeted this saying, stopping growth means not, not necessarily like changing out all your stuff for energy efficient. Means maybe really trying not to buy new stuff if it's at all possible. Buy used, reuse the thing that you already have. What is it? There's an equation about how much carbon it is to actually buy a new car instead of just use an old car until it's dead. It's actually less destructive to the planet to use that old car until it's dead than to buy a new car. So think on that on that one. All right, YouTubers, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We're going to finish the show on Rockfin. And I'll see you all tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you on Rockfin or Callin, where we're also doing the show.